Madam Chair, we are now live.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We just had a small technical difficulty there. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustment meeting for Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet pursuant to the Committee of Adjustment terms of reference and meeting procedures. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. Thank you for your patience, and we will now proceed with the meeting. Before moving on to the application portion of this meeting, I would like to confirm whether there are any disclosure of interest from the members of the committee.
None for me.
Seeing none, I would like to look for adoption of the minutes from Wednesday, November 30th, 2022. Thank you, Mark, and a seconder. Thank you, Wasif. Just for myself, just as a note on page 11, there is no S on my name. On one of the Chair Roberts, it just says Chair Robert. Other than that, any other discussion in regards to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. We will now move on to the mandate for the Committee of Adjustment. The committee is bound by the Planning Act to assess each application based upon its ability to meet 4 tests: that the application is minor in nature, is desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, and finally, as in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and/or agent will be called upon, and at their option, they may provide a brief description of the minor variance application they have applied for. The committee members may ask questions of the applicant and/or agent, after which anyone with direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or anyone having interest in the application. After a decision is made, notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. Anyone having interest in the application may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the decision of the committee. After 20 days, the decision will become final and binding. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, no building permits will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's procedure is expected of all present at all times. Members of our committee tonight are Wasif Ahmed, Mark Pavelak, and I am the chair, Lori Roberts. Okay. The first application we are going to be looking at tonight is A5722. It is for 48 Hearn Crescent, submitted by Rely Solutions, Inc. Before I move on to the applications, though, I just wanted to share a note that was sent to the committee from Eric, just because 2 of our applications tonight, just as clarification, that the province has enacted new legislation that restricts municipalities, despite what our bylaws currently require, so despite what Ajax has, to only require a maximum of 1 parking space per unit for detached, semi-detached, or townhouse dwellings. This means that a dwelling with a basement apartment will only need a maximum of 2 parking spaces, 1 for the main dwelling and 1 for the accessory apartment. So just wanted to kind of keep that in everyone's mind as we proceed with the application portion. So the first application, I've already said the application A5722. The relief that is being requested for that is to permit uncovered steps leading to a below garage entrance within the south interior interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.9 meters from the interior side lot line. The bylaw requirement for this is that uncovered steps are not permitted within a required interior side yard. And the minimum setback from the interior side lot line is 0.3 meters on one side and 1.2 meters on the other side. Eric, can I confirm that notice was served and any responses received?
Notice was served, and there's just the one piece of correspondence in support, which was provided to the committee.
Thank you very much. For the applicant, staff has written a report recommending approval of this application subject to the five following conditions. One, that the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 48 Hearn Crescent and as illustrated in figure 2 contained herein, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the uncovered steps be maintained at all times on the subject property, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that the existing air conditioning unit be relocated as necessary in consultation with the applicable utility agencies and the town's building services section to a location that does not impede access to or from the uncovered steps, or this decision shall become null and void. 4, that the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. And finally, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Is the applicant here?
Yes,
Hi there. Okay. If I can, have you received a copy of the report?
yes.
Okay. And can I please ask you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Nixon Massey, and I'm the owner of 48 Hearn Crescent. And this application is submitted by my architect from Reliance Solution Inc.
Okay. And do you have any comments in regards to the application?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. And to the committee, does anybody have any comments or questions for the applicant or for staff? Seeing none, is there anyone in attendance to speak either for or against application A5722 for 48 Hearn Crescent?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much. If I can please look for a motion on this application. Mark? Sorry, Mark, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I was having technical challenges myself. Madam Chair, I move to approve application number A57/22, seeing that it is a minor nature and meets the other tests, subject to the conditions set forth by staff.
Thank you very much. And a seconder? Thank you, Wassup. Any comments in regards to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. So application A5722 has been approved subject to the 5 conditions as outlined in the staff report in the 20-day appeal period. Thank you very much. We will now move on to application A58-22 for 13 Reese Avenue, submitted by Mesrite. And the variances that are being requested is to permit uncovered steps leading to a below grade entrance within the north interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.2 meters from the interior side lot line. And the bylaw requirement for that is uncovered steps are not permitted within a required side yard. interior side yard, sorry, and the minimum setback is 0.3 meters on one side and 1.2 meters on the other. The second variance is to permit a minimum aggregate setback between uncovered steps and an adjacent dwelling of 0.6 meters, and the bylaw requirement is 1.2 meters. Eric, has notice been served and any responses received?
Notice was served and 2 responses were received in opposition, which were provided to the committee.
Thank you very much. For the applicant, staff has written a report recommending approval of this application subject to the following 5 conditions. That the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 13 Reese Avenue and as illustrated in figure 2 contained herein, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the uncovered steps be maintained at all times on the subject property, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that any existing utilities be relocated as necessary in consultation with the applicable utility agencies and the town's building services section to a location that does not impede access to or from the uncovered steps, or this decision shall become null and void. 4, that the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. And finally, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. Have you received a copy of the report?
I have.
Okay, and can I please ask you to introduce yourself?
My name is Doug Norton. I'm a BCIN designer and the principal of Measurite. And the purpose of this application is to create below-grade entrance for a proposed accessory apartment in the basement of this dwelling.
Thank you very much. Does committee have any questions or comments for the applicant or for staff in regards to application A5822? Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to staff. Erica, I note that one of the public comments was related to ability or potential inability for the homeowner to sufficiently or to improve the landscaping of the backyard, because in the public comments, I believe they're anticipating it would be difficult to access the backyard if there's any need to alter it. Is the backyard currently in compliance with the town plan, or is there any requirement that the town would have on the homeowner to alter the backyard?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, there's no requirements specifically as it relates to the landscaping of the backyard. So obviously we encourage people not to completely hard surface backyards just so that there's no drainage impacts, but there's no specific bylaws or anything in place to prohibit it.
So if in other words, if the backyard was not altered by any means, it would remain in compliance with the act.
The backyard's in compliance regardless.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you. No further questions for you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none.
Excuse me, I know that sometimes it's best to just shut up, but I do want to offer this to the committee as well. In this particular application, there are stairs that go down as you go towards the backyard and reach the door to the proposed door for entrance to the apartment. And then we've gone the extra step, no pun intended, of adding steps beyond that to go back up to grade again. So you can go down the stairs, across a level portion, and then upstairs to get to the backyard.
Okay, so yes, and there is a way to get back and forth.
That's
You just
correct.
have to go up and down the stairs. Okay, thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak either for or against application A58-22?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Can I please look for a motion? Wasif?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the committee this evening approve application A5822 for 13 Reese Avenue as submitted with the 5 conditions in the staff report.
Thank you very much. And a seconder? Thank you very much, Mark. Any comments on the motion at all? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, thank you very much. A5822 has been approved, subject to the 5 conditions as outlined in the staff report and the 20-day appeal period.
Okay, thank you very much to the committee for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Okay, the next application that we are moving on to, it's 2 applications that we are looking at the same time. It's A59-22 and A60-22 for 1801 and 1901 Harwood Avenue North, and it is submitted by North Harwood Center Holdings Limited. The variances that are being requested for 1801 Harwood Avenue North to permit a maximum of 45% of the required parking spaces in the front yard between Building A and Harwood Avenue North, provided that the spaces are used for visitor and employee parking and are arranged in 4 rows. The bylaw requirement for that particular variance is a maximum of 20%. And let me see if I have this. I've got to look at the right line here. A maximum of 20%, and that the parking is no more than a single row of visitor parking shall be permitted. The second variance for 1801 Harwood Avenue is to permit 1 loading space, and the bylaw requirement is 2 loading spaces. The next requested relief is for 1901 Harwood Avenue, and that is to permit a maximum of 31% of the required parking spaces in the front yard between Building B and Harwood Avenue North, provided that the spaces are used for visitor and employee parking and are arranged in a single row. And that goes back to the maximum allowable amount. The bylaw requirement is 20%. And to permit a minimum setback of the south interior side lot line of 0.6 meters. And the bylaw requirement is 1.3 meters for 1901 Harwood Avenue. Eric, can I just confirm that I conveyed that correctly, what the variants are and what the bylaws are?
Madam Chair, you are correct.
Okay, perfect. And can I also confirm that notice was served?
Notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, thank you very much. For the applicant, staff has written a report recommending approval of both of these applications subject to the following 2 conditions. 1, that the owner applicant submit a site plan amendment application to the town and obtain approval of such application, or this decision shall become null and void. And 2, that the owner applicant take the necessary steps to comply with all applicable regional standards in order to recognize the unsuccessful merging of the subject lands municipally known as 1801 and 1901 Harwood Avenue North. Is the applicant here?
Yes, applicant is present. It's me.
Okay, thank you very much. And have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and can I please ask you to introduce yourself and if you have any comments in regards to the applications?
Sure. My name is Maxim Tarsky. I'm one of the principals at North Harwood Center Holdings, the applicant in this case. I don't have any additional questions or remarks in this case. Everything is very detailed, relied in a staff report. It's pretty much just a refresher of a previous minor variance application that was done back in 2019 that unfortunately became null and void because one of the conditions was that two properties has to merge. Did not happen because of the whole story is explained in the staff report. So we pretty much just rectifying conditions on the ground, making it conformal with all legality right now.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. To committee, do you have any questions to the applicant or to staff in regards to this applications? Mark.
Madam Chair, through to staff. So if I understand the application correctly, it's for condominium units, but being multi-use commercial doesn't necessarily mean it's residential condominium units. It could be businesses, if that's correct. And if that is correct, do we know the proportion of the business units versus residential?
Through you, Madam Chair. So just to clarify, condominium is just a tenure. It doesn't necessarily mean residential use. I know typically people think condo, they think of a high-rise building. Condo is just a type of tenure. So it's just the ownership of how the units are. So it's completely commercial site. Residential is not permitted at all.
Okay, that clarifies that. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from committee in regards to these two applications? Steph, Eric, I have a question, two questions. So is the intentions, I know the lands, the two were not merged. Is the intention that eventually the two may merge in the future?
Madam Chair, no, that they're going to remain as separate condos and separate properties, development sites. They ultimately function as one, but legally they will remain as two.
Okay, and then my question is what impact could this potentially have, these variances that are being requested, should the applicant decide to sell one of those individually? Would it impact a new owner going forward?
No, there'd be no implications if they're sold. Anything that's like shared between the two properties, there's already easements registered on title, so there's no implications.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Any other questions from committee? Seeing none, is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak either for or against the application? I'm gonna say that there is none. Can I please look for a motion on application, the two applications, A59-22 and A60-22? Wasif.
Perhaps a question first before I put forth the motion, Madam Chair, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a question, and maybe to staff for some guidance. Would we, just from a motion's sake, should we rather put two motions, one for each application, A59 versus A60?
Through you, Madam Chair, you can do them together as they're all being processed together. We're ultimately only going to do one notice of decision, so you don't have to do a separate motion.
Okay, thank you for that guidance. Madam Chair, I'm ready to put forth the motion if that's still okay with you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. So through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the committee approve applications A59-22 and A60-22 for 1801 and 1901 Hardwood Avenue North on the basis that it is minor in nature, meets the 4 tests, and is subject to the conditions as outlined in the staff report dated December 14, 2022.
Thank you very much. And a seconder. Thank you, Mark. Any comments at all in regards to the motion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. Application A59-22 and A60-22 has been approved subject to the 2 conditions as outlined in the staff report and the 20-day appeal period. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. That concludes the application portion of our meeting tonight. Everyone is free to leave this part if you're so desire. We will now move on to the other business. Is there any other business? Seeing none, can I look for adjournment? Thank you very much. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.